Hey there guys, this is Reckles with WTBGold, and we have some really cool news from the Battle for Azeroth beta. Blizzard just released information about a 5 million gold mount called the Mighty Caravan Brutosaur. Now, take a second, go down into the comments, and just tell me your initial thoughts on this thing. I'll go through mine, but here's what it looks like. Appears to be a massive Brontosaurus one-seater with room for 2 vendors on the side, and we have word that there will be an auctioneer on the back. So, okay, pause, go down in the comments, let me know what you think. Initially, I was thrilled. I mean, hell yeah, this thing is freaking huge and awesome and better than your mount, and I want it. Plus, it has a freaking auction house on the back, so that has something to do with gold making. Woo! But honestly, I thought about it, and I don't know anyone who would want this mount. You know, average players can't afford it, and it shows the widening gap, this huge disconnect between the Blizzard development team and the gold making community. And here's what I mean by that. At BlizzCon, I asked about how zone scaling will affect the transmog drop rates. Here's the answer.
So things that, like gold will scale. It makes sense for gold to scale. If I'm doing a zone at 60, I should get the same amount of gold out of it. But if it's dropped, let's say it drops silk, it should still drop silk when we do our changes.
I mean, so? That doesn't answer the question, and we don't care in the slightest about raw gold drop rates from vanilla. There was zero profession or gold making information discussed in the BFA Q&As. We had the loot table shenanigans from Zul'Farrak that we never got an official explanation for. And recently, I put together a group of YouTubers and asked the YouTube liaison at Blizz if we could set up like some kind of a monthly Skype session with a member of the dev team so we can all get on the same page with ethics and farmings and nerfs and professions. And the word back was that they can't spare 10 minutes a month to communicate that with us. On top of that, we have the fundamental problem of 8% per month hyperinflation, no gold making in-game, even though 5 to 10% of the WoW population plays primarily for gold making. Yeah, the mount is cool looking, and I totally want a mobile auction house. But here's what I mean when I say it's not a gold making endgame. Let's look at tried and true systems of gamification in PvE and PvP. For raiders and arena junkies, their goal is to kill the hardest thing possible. Giggity. If they succeed, you get a currency, honor, justice, or valor, or conquest, marks of honor, tier tokens, whatever. You convert that currency into gear, and that gear increases your stats, making it easier for you to complete the cycle and kill an even more difficult enemy, spiraling up and up and up. It's a wonderful, vicious, and very addicting cycle that has incentives in the right place, aligned with player goals. Also, because you're incentivized to trade in your currency, it makes inflation a non-issue. I mean, we don't have raid gear that costs 100,000 tier tokens. You use up the currency when you get it because you feel like it makes you better. But before we get into gold making, let's look at the system in pet battles to see how differing from this doesn't quite work and might explain why pet battling isn't more popular. With battle pets, your goal is to, again, beat the hardest enemy possible. You're rewarded with a currency that you can trade in for pets, but those pets aren't necessarily more powerful. You're just stamp collecting. The incentive to keep going for harder and harder bosses each time isn't there, but it could be. If you didn't know, WoW battle pets actually have a gender. They're male or female. So Blizzard could introduce breeding. Tamer battles could award a token that lets you combine a male and female pet of the same type or whatever and yield a baby with randomized stats. That would increase your power level. And by combining pets, you're also destroying one of them effectively, giving people an incentive to go out and keep farming more, doing that cycle up and up and up and up. So, back to the 5 million gold mount. With gold making, our goal is GPH, to make a profit as efficiently as possible. But by doing that, we aren't awarded with any currency. I mean, other than the gold itself. And we spend that on a 2 million gold spider mount or 5 million gold Brutosaur mount, which is fine if that's your goal, but that's actually the opposite of what we want. I mean, I don't have the spider mount. because I don't want to spend the gold. I didn't buy a transmog yak until Legion because I don't want to spend the gold. My goal is making more profit, not increasing my expenses. Just to reiterate, to make gold, I want to get gold, not spend gold. Get more gold, not spend more gold. Oi! What are you blabbing about, mate? Ah, the little goldy bloke on it. That'll help you flip it in, you dag. Hey, Dave, long time no see. How you been? I heard you were visiting your brother or your uncle.
Answer me question or Rick off, mate. 5 million against inflation and she'll be
Dude,
right.
you didn't even ask a question. You just said words. I'm trying to be nice to you. All right. An auctioneer could help people make gold, but hear me out. Who is this mount for? I get that it's a gold sink. Expensive mounts draw money away from the wealthy, and, WoW tokens transfer from the rich to the poor. That's fine. Blizz is trying to drain money from the richest players to even out Lauren's curve. But for this mount specifically, average players can't buy the mount, and for the gold makers, it's the opposite of what they want. More so, the auction house on the back doesn't even matter. Gold makers who could afford this mount sell lots of things. If you're willing to spend half of gold cap on this, you have hundreds or thousands of items up on the auction house. You know that the cap on things you can have on the AH is 10,000 from experience. Keeping that many items up requires add-ons, because the base UI is just absolutely worthless at that scale. It also requires bag space and a close proximity between the mailbox and the auction house. In other words, gold makers need a bank alt whether this mount exists or not. We need a posting tune. Having an auction house on the back of this mount just means that you need to have your auction house tune at least level 20, and that you can park it near any mailbox. That doesn't make anything easier. It just saves 5 steps to an auctioneer. It also means that, forget mammoths, mailboxes on large servers are going to be perpetually covered in 5-story dinosaur mounts. Honestly, I'm really surprised they did this. Because one of the problems with Warlords of Draenor was that garrisons made major cities unnecessary. So everyone was just kind of lonely, out in their own little world, not interacting with anybody and not enjoying themselves in the game. And a lot of people quit. Eventually, Legion came along and they pushed against that. They brought everyone together into major cities and order halls. But this mount does it again. And permanently. You never need to go to Stormwind or Orgrimmar if you have this mount. I don't like that. I want to be around people. And yeah, it helps with inflation, but only temporarily. You can only ever buy one of these. And Battle for Azeroth has lucrative quest chains and even more expensive vendor trash. And for some reason, we still have Order Hall gold missions that give just way too much raw gold into the economy. By the end of Battle for Azeroth, raid drop BOEs will be selling for more than gold cap. Blizz is going to be forced to either raise the cap or introduce some kind of stupid alternative currency like platinum. Here's my alternative. I've actually put a lot of thought into this over the past couple of months, tweaked everything, and I'm really excited to have a good excuse like this to share it. Meet Topper McNabb. He's a beggar outside Stormwind Auction House, but there's always been something a little fishy about him. What if, for 10 million gold, you could buy a gold cap? Topper's top hat, a bright, glowing, golden beacon of your auction house accomplishments. This would not only be, a status symbol like the Spider Mount or Swift Spectral Tiger or Mighty Caravan Brutosaur, but what if it also incentivized you, gave you 1% increased gold whenever you looted an enemy or sold something on the auction house? For an additional measly 1 million gold, Topper could also sell Topper's tokens. For 2 tokens, he can upgrade your level 1 hat to a level 2 for an additional 1% earnings. 3 tokens, he'll do level 3, all the way up to 10 tokens for level 10. So, what does this do? It not only gives people a system to follow and tiered goals, but it's a permanent gold sink. I mean, yeah, it does theoretically add gold to the economy eventually, but only after depleting it and knocking down inflation. If you spend 10 million gold for a 1% boost, you're in the red until you sell 1 billion gold worth of items. But it still does this in line with Goldmaker's goals. I don't care about how much gold I have. I care about being efficient and making more gold on the auction house, making more profit. I would much rather spend 60 million gold on a 6% or 10% increase to my revenue rather than 2 million gold on a mount that I don't care about. Remember, get more gold, not spend more gold. You know what? We can do better than that, though. Any golden top hat worth its salt needs some bling. So, what if Topper's top hat had 3 gem slots in the brim, so you could customize bonuses from your top hat? You could buy a gem for 1 million gold and upgrade the gem for 2 to 10 million gold per level. One gem type could reduce auction house posting fees by 10% per level up to 100%. Another could reduce the auction house cut by 10% per level up to 100%. One could reduce the cast time of mining, herbalism, and skinning by 10% per level up to 100%, which would be instant cast mining. That'd be awesome, but wouldn't really affect things. One could give you 5% mount speed per level. Another could give you a proc chance whenever you're crafting. The catch to all this is that you could only have 3 gems. This is a gamification of gold making. It's a system that is in line with our goals and in line with our wheels. You accomplish the goal of profitable, efficient sales. You get currency to get gear, to get better stats, so you can accomplish even more efficient sales. The gems incentivize some really cool things, though. Check out. In raids, priests are just better at healing than mages, so they optimize for that role, and mages optimize for DPS. The gems are like that. They're massively expensive investments that let you specialize. So when you get a top hat, you're not only committing to that server and that tune, but you're also committing to that style of making gold. Crafting, or gathering, or auctioning, which means if you're good at one thing, you want to team up with someone who's good at another. So you might, let's say, join a guild and pool your gold to level up a top hat, or focus a few people, a farming squad, on gathering herbs and ore and depositing that into a guild bank, and then having another few people focusing on selling all that stuff off. You'd have Model T style roles emerging. You'll have personal fulfillment through this tiered growth, and you'll have a need for socialization in a guild that can accomplish something better in the world of gold making than they could by themselves. So yeah, let me know what you think of the Brutosaur mount and Topper's top hat down in the comments. Also, there are 2 auction house methods that I figured out that are like cheesy exploits of Topper's top hat. Cool points if you can figure out both of them. Bonus points if you figure out more that's wrong with it. You know, I'm not a game designer, so this is an imperfect system. But I hope you all enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Good luck and happy gold making.
Oi! But it has an auction house on it!
Oh, that's awful. Oh, that's so bad.